The Volquest 2-minute drill is brought to you by Craven Wings.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Full Court Press. I am Brent Hubbs. Full Court Press brought to you by our good friends at Craven Wings, and we appreciate their support of not just Tennessee football, but Tennessee basketball. I am joined by Rob Lewis as Tennessee in Nashville today falls to Colorado by a score of 78-66. Rob joins us here from Bridgestone Arena in Nashville. And Rob, rough day for Tennessee. They never got an offensive rhythm going at all. What do you make of Tennessee? Look, it's November. Everybody calm down. But what do you make of Tennessee offensively 2 games into this season?
I mean, today was brutally ugly, but and I've written this, and I'll write more about it. I'm not inclined to make a huge deal about it. I mean, I think, I'm not saying Rick Barnes is happy that his team lost. I can assure you he is not. But boy, I tell you what, he's got a game film to show them now that is going to be a teaching tool, just big time proportions. I mean, that's as angry as I've seen him at a post game press conference in a while, and just did not think his kids, were ready to play today. However, he threw out a lot of those buzzwords that in coach speak. You're like, film's going to be bad. Complacency, weren't ready to play, thought that we were going to show up and win. We've got veteran guards that are supposed to, set the tone. Well, they did that today, but they said it in a negative way, and just clearly not happy. And also went well out of his way to give Colorado plenty of credit and not just say, hey, we couldn't shoot it today. I mean, he was very complimentary of Tad Boyle and the defensive job they did. But, Tennessee for the day, they have one more made shot than turnovers. That's never good. And in the second half, I mean, Colorado shot 54% from the field, and really the last 10 minutes just kind of took it to Tennessee.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, everybody's going to make a big deal about not making shots. But Rick Barnes. I know Rick Barnes. You've covered him extensively. The film tape of this one, I think that's going to bother him the most is about where Tennessee was on the defensive end of the floor, more so than what Tennessee was on the offensive end of the floor. You think that's a reach to say that, or do you think that's where Rick Barnes is going with this?
No, because I don't think they took a ton of bad shots. Now they I'm not trying to say that everyone they missed was wide open. No, but he's, or at least before he has watched the game tape, his immediate take. We just got to his press conference about 10 minutes ago. I think far more upset about the defensive execution in the last 10 minutes, because as bad as Tennessee was shooting the basketball, I mean, they were still hanging around. It's 55-50 with 6 minutes or so left, and still anything could happen. And just Tennessee just can never stop them.
What do you attribute that to? What did Colorado do that bothered Tennessee on the defensive end of the floor
Well,
that Rick Barnes has got to fix?
I think without going back and watching the game tape myself, man, I thought Tennessee got ball movement hurt them, and I think they had guys get out of position. I'm not saying they were lazy, but they weren't sharp on that end. I think they let Colorado, move the defense with some penetration. And I don't mean just getting all the way to the rim, but, a couple dribbles here, making guys react. Maybe the next guy is a step off of where he's supposed to be when Colorado rotates it. And I would just say sharpness. And again, Coach Barnes used the word urgency, sense of urgency multiple times in his press conference. And as you know, Hubbard, whether it's basketball or football, when you show up and you don't have that intensity, that urgency out of the gate, it's really hard to regroup and get your guys together and say, all right, now we've got to start playing with our heads on fire. And I think that I kind of agree with Coach Barnes today. In hindsight, it did kind of look like Tennessee just expected to show up and win this one. Hey, this is a Colorado team playing their second game in 3 days. They lost at Grambling, of all places, earlier this week. We just have to show up and beat Tennessee, and we're going to win.
Yeah, and obviously Tennessee could not do that. They had their moments. The 8-point lead in the first half looked like they might be able to stretch it at one point. Again, went ice cold, long stretches for both teams where they didn't score. And then, as you mentioned, Colorado gets their offense on track, in the second half. So next up for Tennessee, obviously back to work. But what do you think Rick Barnes is in terms of rotation with those kind of guys? I mean, is this the game tape where you start seeing, pairing of minutes, limiting of minutes, or is it too early in the season to get into all of that kind of talk?
It is not too early. He just answered. I didn't even ask him this question necessarily, but he clearly wanted it out there, talking about his rotation. He already told the Ziegler before he even came in to do his post game interview that he wasn't starting anymore. So that's one adjustment is that Ziegler is back to coming off the bench, which I presume puts Tyreek Key into the starting lineup. And maybe, I mean, Josiah is going to get there too, I would guess, and over Julian Phillips probably sooner rather than later. But I would imagine and I don't know that will do a lot to people's minutes, but I think that Coach Barnes is hoping that it does something to Ziegler's mindset.
Interesting afternoon for sure for Tennessee when you look at what happened in this game. As obviously Coach Barnes not pleased with the team's mentality, Rob, as you said, and a Tennessee team that they don't have a lot of Rick Barnes' buzzword is flow, right? Offensive flow. It doesn't feel like they got great flow right now on offense. And part of that's because you're not making shots. But again, the bigger thing that's going to stick in Rick Barnes' craw is clearly the defensive effort on the field. We have full coverage of Tennessee's their first loss of the season at Colorado throughout the afternoon, the evening. We'll have plenty of that early next week, and Tennessee gets back to the floor. Rob, they can't get there soon enough, I'm sure, for this basketball team and get off the practice floor.
I was going to say these kids would love to play tomorrow night instead of go to film and go to practice. I can promise you that.
Yep, so we'll see what happens with this basketball team. That's going to do it for this edition of The Fast Break. Again, thanks to our friends at Craven Wings for their support of Tennessee basketball. He is Rob Lewis from Bridgestone Arena in Nashville. I'm Brent Hubbs, Volquest.com.
When you're craving wings, it's got to be Craven Wings. Online at cravenwings.com.